Shut your mouth, broadcasting. First round draft pick. Believe we got stats, kid. Quarterback sacking. 100-yard dashing. So tap in for the action. What teams got traction? What teams are losing? Franchises ruined. Fans in the stand booing.
Welcome to the Sim Podcast Show. I'm your co-host Sirik, and I'm always joined by my co-host Ron. What up, Ron?
What's going on?
You know what we do? We talk about the National Football League on a weekly basis, including the playoffs. And Ron, we just had the Super Bowl, or not just, more like 72 hours ago. So we just kind of like wrapping it up. But Ron, I want to hear your thought, like, because we watched this game together, and I want to hear what you thought about the Super Bowl.
It was great. I thought, good game, lots of scoring, kind of what I think we both expected. Came down to the end. Didn't like how it ended at all, but I thought, I expected both teams to kind of go back and forth, and the offenses for both teams to kind of, just have their will. And that's exactly what happened. I thought it was a good game.
I saw this kind of like about the Super Bowl, how it was like the third most watched Super Bowl. But do you rank the Super Bowl in your top 10?
Top 10 Super Bowls of all time? Probably not. There's quite a few I can think off the top of my head that was better for sure. It's probably outside the top 10, I would think.
Yeah,
but it was still a good game.
It was a good game. It was an entertaining game. I didn't think it was
had it ended 10. Differently, maybe. Had Kansas City kicked a field goal and then Philly, either go down and win it or go down tie, go to overtime or fail. Maybe it's in the top 10, but not quite there for me.
Well, let's just talk about it briefly, because it's almost like a game of two halves, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the first half, I would say Philly offense dominated. Would you say the defense dominated too?
Yeah, defense. I think they did what they needed to hold Kansas City to just 14 points in that first half. I wouldn't say they necessarily dominated. But they did just enough, I think, in that first half to kind of hold them down a little bit.
Well, the only thing that I noticed, because, 24-14 at half? So they had the lead, and Kansas City only had 30 yards rushing. So what were your thoughts at that time? At halftime, you think Philly was going to win?
Yeah, I thought Philly was in good position. I knew Kansas City would adjust and come out and score points. I also knew that Kansas City wasn't playing bad. I'm not sure if they even punted in that first half. They may have punted once. It was just a matter of field position. Philly dealt, or time of possession. Philly just dominated the ball that first half, and but I knew Kansas City would come out the second half with more opportunities to score, and sure enough, they did.
I want to say that Jalen Hurts was probably the best player for both teams as far as, offense goes. He just made that one mistake, right, where he fumbled and the Chiefs scored on, but Jalen Hurts pretty much carried this Eagles team, I would say, the whole entire game, because even in the second half, he was still scoring. Not as many points as the first half, but he was still scoring. So, in your estimation, why did Philly let Kansas City back in?
I think Kansas City did a good job of making a second half adjustments on the plays that they scored, those two touchdowns. Philly didn't have an answer. I think Philly didn't get a lot of pressure on Mahomes. That was a you can't go a game without getting any pressures, any sacks whatsoever against Mahomes and expect to win. I thought that was a mistake. And Mahomes did, he did his Superman thing, man. He made some runs when he needed to. Even though it looked like he had re-injured his leg at one point, he had a couple scrambles that were killers for Philly. So the Philly defense had their opportunity, I think. They just didn't step up when they needed to. They needed to make a play at the end. They couldn't do it.
I think, obviously, the Philly defense, I mean, they didn't score any sacks the whole entire game. And they were a sack machine the whole entire year.
Mm-hmm.
So I give it up to Kansas City Chiefs offensive line because they actually knew the quarterback was hurt. They protected him. They even rushed the ball in the second half, 118 yards. I mean, they definitely dominated the second half, even though, 11 points for Philly, that's not going to cut. That's not going to win.
In the second half?
Yes.
Yeah, like you said, it was a tale of two halves. And, Philly, I think offensively, they didn't do anything bad. Kansas City just kind of dominated the ball in the second half. I think the mistakes were made on Philly. Like I said, just not getting pressure. And not doing anything different to get pressure. There was no blitzes or anything like that. They just continued to rush 4. And that didn't work because Mahomes was getting the ball out quickly. Receivers were making plays. That punt return that Kadarius had too was huge. And when you play in the Super Bowl, man, it just takes one big play, to change the momentum, and that's exactly what happened. And I think Philly was just kind of reeling at the end. But I would have liked to see the game end differently because who's to say Philly wouldn't have gone down and tied the game or won the game outright had that that call not been made at the end.
Well, let's talk about that call because that call, it came in 3rd and 8. So basically, if they don't make that call, it's 4th and 8, and I think Kansas City was already in field goal range, right?
Yeah.
So they would have, if they made the kick, they would have gone out 38-35, but then they would have left almost like 2 minutes in the clock.
Yeah, I think it might have been just under a minute or something like that. Plenty of time. So,
what do you think? Do you think that the ref should have not made that call, or do you think that he saw it? I mean, the cornerback for the Phillies already admitted it that he was old, and he called it. What do you think?
I don't think the flag should have been thrown. I'm not saying he wasn't held. He was. But I think in football, you can call holding on almost every play. And the fact that no holding at all, either on a receiver, on an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, not one holding penalty was called the entire game. To have that called with 1.5 minutes left, it basically decided the outcome of the game. There were plenty of other examples I remember that should have been called holding. There was actually one that was on Juju. It was Bradbury on Juju, right in the middle of the field. That was not called. And if you're not calling obvious ones in the middle of the game, and that's the kind of game players are expecting. They're expecting to be officiated a certain way, and then at the end you change W, and it is a legitimate hold. Then that's what bothers me about the officiating for this game.
I think, when it comes down to the officiating, yes, the call was holding. So, yes, it was holding. But considering the circumstances, both teams were tied. Under 2 minutes left, it's almost like you giving Kansas City a free pass.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saddened that the game ended in a flag? Because basically,
absolutely,
that was the last call.
That was the game. That was the game. Yeah, I don't think like I said, the flag should have been thrown at all. I thought the officiating was overall in the game was a little bit one-sided. I think what was the penalty? 6-3 or 7-3 or something like that. I don't have it in front of me, but and it wasn't just the penalties too. Like some of the, it wasn't even challenges. There was one play, receiver caught the ball. They said it was a catch. Another play was ran. Then they said, no, team didn't have the ability to substitute. I've watched football the entire year. Plenty of games. Never have I seen a play ran and they blow it. They say they stop the play.
Stop it altogether.
And say, no, it's a dead ball. Never have I seen that happen. I don't understand how in like the college system, like it works perfectly fine. Like the ref will get in front of they'll call down to the ref official and he'll get in front of the quarterback so you can't even rush and make a play, snap the ball. But in the NFL, they can't execute that. And they allowed, a play to go on. They said, no, it's a dead ball. I didn't like how the mechanics of that happened at all. And I understand they were trying to get the play right or whatever. Once the ball snapped, move on. I don't like instant replay when it comes to catches. What's a catch? What's not a catch? I'm so over that. It's.
I don't know. I don't think you can get rid of instant replays altogether because I feel like you still need it, right?
No.
For other calls.
I don't feel so. I mean, the game has survived for 100 years without instant replay.
I think if it's a touchdown and it's undebatable, you got to go to replay. You can't just. There's too many cameras already in football. There's an overhead camera. There's camera in the pylon. There's just too many cameras. You can't say no. Don't include technology. Replay is here to stay.
So are you going to examine every single call?
Not so much catches, but I think touchdowns, yes.
Yeah, okay. So touchdowns, fine.
So maybe the owners vote that catches shouldn't be reviewed. That's up to the competition committee to make that decision. So
they're there to add rules, not take rules away.
Well, if there's enough people that don't like it, because if you were a Philly fan today, you'd be upset. So I think there was a Devontae Smith catch that was taken away.
Right.
So it's, again, it depends on where you stand. You feel like you're being cheated, then you vote against it. You feel like you're not, then you don't vote against it.
Right.
So I think that technology is fine. Leave it the way it is. Do every play have to be replayed? No, absolutely. No, not every play. So real quickly, I know that this is looking way ahead. Do any of these teams come back next year?
I think so. I think Kansas City's, it's hard to, it's impossible to write them off. I think both these teams too have a lot of off-season moves they have to make. I think Kansas City has like Juju and I don't know about Kadarius, but they got to figure out their receiving situation. Philly has I want to say 16 or 17 free agents or something like that this year. So they might lose quite a few players. And I think Jalen's up too, right? For contract too. So they got to figure that out. How much is he going to demand? And based on his salary, how much is that going to eat up into their cap? And what players can they go out and sign? So will they have Bradbury back, for example? I don't know. So these, both teams can look somewhat different. I suspect Kansas City, regardless of who's on the team, just because again they did it again this year without Hill, they'll be able to get back there. Philly, I think the road's a little bit tougher to climb.
Yeah, and I did see after the Super Bowl was over and all these commentators talking about how Philly is gonna be back, their future is set, blah blah blah. I'm like, no, they're not.
Never is.
Especially in that division, the Giants gotten better. The Cowboys be the Cowboys, but Washington, I know Wentz is coming back, but they've gone better. So I don't know if Philly, I think commentators were talking out their butts.
Yeah.
When they were like, oh, Philly will be back. I don't know. I think this was Philadelphia's year, and it didn't happen for them in the World Series. It didn't happen for them in the Super Bowl. And I will include MLS too. Yeah. They lost that. Yeah. So it's just not their year.
But they have a good foundation. Their culture is good. This is the second year in a row, right? They're in the playoffs. So I don't think they're going to all of a sudden not be competitive.
Right.
The question is, can they get back to a Super Bowl, and what will the roster look like? How much competition will they have, like you said, in the NFC? All that's up for debate. I think the important thing for them is just making sure Hurts is signed and retaining as many of those players as they can.
Plus, on top of that, they just lost both coordinators.
Yeah, both coordinators are gone.
Not that I would think the offensive coordinator, he was pretty good, but the defense coordinator just
he was good. Number one defense, I think, in the entire league
then
all year.
You crap the bed in the Super Bowl, the most important game, and then you get a head coaching job.
Yeah,
go figure.
Like I said, adjustments. You got to be able to make adjustments. And I don't know. I mean, the Super Bowl is different. Mahomes is such a smart player. Reed obviously is a great coach, great coordinator.
Yeah, but after 1 year, do you give the guy a head coaching job?
Nah, well, I don't know.
How desperate is Arizona?
Yeah, well,
maybe nobody wants to take that job.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, all right, I'll do it. Hey, it's good experience. So yeah, that was the Super Bowl in a nutshell.
What do you think about halftime show?
I think it wasn't the best halftime show, and I don't want to say this wasn't the best because we all know that she was with child. Rihanna was with child, so she couldn't do a lot. But overall, it was okay. I mean,
I thought it was good.
It was all right.
Yeah, she couldn't move or anything that much, but I thought it was a good performance. A lot of the songs were good. I like the halftime show.
I don't know about performance because she couldn't move. So, what, going up and down and that's a good performance for you? I want to see some gyrating hips. I want to see some, outfit change. I want to see a whole. Listen, you don't have a lot of time. You don't have a lot of time in those 13 minutes, so you got to do it all.
Yeah.
But I like her songs a lot, so she did all right. Okay, so let's talk about our schedule for the next show because we're not going to be doing any more YouTube for a while. So our next show, and I put this down on the calendar. So our next show is going to be in April, right? Did I say April?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's going to be April the 25th.
No, it's before that. Let me see if you sent it.
I gotta go back now. Okay, yeah, so it is. It's gonna be April 25th, which is on a Tuesday.
Okay.
The draft is gonna be on the 27th of April. So we're gonna do a podcast, not a YouTube. We're gonna do a podcast. We're gonna talk about our free agents, because by then it should be 3 or 4 weeks into free agency.
Yeah, so I'll go over these dates real quick, just so everyone kind of has it. But so we got February 28th is the combine. That's the 28th through March 6th. And then by March, I think it's 15th is the new calendar year. Is that right? Yeah, March 15th is when the 2023 league year and free agency period begins. It's right at 4 p.m. Now, prior to that, March 13th through the 15th, teams are able to start essentially negotiating, if you will. There's a two-day period to negotiate before the 15th. So you'll probably hear some signings before then, but March 15th is really the date that you'll kind of hear that. And then nothing really happens outside of league meeting and stuff like that until we get to April when we get to the draft. So, the free agency period is, it's a decent amount of time. Usually the top players are generally signed within the first week and a half or so. But you and I, we're going to meet right before the draft. We'll know who our team signed as far as free agents and have a better idea, I think, of what the needs are for the team, what the team's going to look for out of the draft. we'll be able to speak to it a little bit better on the 26th. Did you say they were meeting? April
25th, which is a Tuesday. And then we're going to meet again. We'll do another podcast May 2nd. And then we'll kind of grade how our teams did. We kind of grade how the league did overall. If some of those needs were met. And then we actually shut it down all the way to like maybe the end of July.
Yeah.
And then we'll actually go back on YouTube. We'll put all our podcasts on YouTube. And then we're just kind of spitballing right now whether we want to do we're going to do a Sunday night kind of like instant podcast of our teams, of what happened. And then we'll sprinkle in a little bit of pre-recorded podcast like we're doing today.
Yeah.
So we're going to mix it up for season 3. But officially, season 3 doesn't kick off until we meet in April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in between these long breaks in the summer, when there's nothing going on, I'm sure we'll throw something together, talk a little bit about baseball or basketball. Basketball will probably be over by then, but we'll talk some baseball, see how our Red Sox are doing.
Yeah, we'll talk baseball. We'll talk basketball. We'll throw in some bonus podcasts here and there. But overall, hey, the season's over. Season 2 is over. This is kind of our finale. Anything that you want to add, Ron, to the viewers, to the listeners?
Well, I guess just to wrap up the season for the Steelers and just NFL as a whole, I thought the season was as expected for me, for the Steelers. I thought there was a lot of good things that we experienced, a lot of like growing pains for sure. Disappointed that Matt Canada's coming back. We'll see what happens next year. We've lost some coaches too. Some guys, one coach retiring. Flores getting an opportunity, I think, with Minnesota. So we'll see if Tomlin hires anyone to kind of replace those roles. But I'm excited, for next year for the Steelers for sure. I think, Pickett going into his second year, having that under his belt, young offense. We'll see what we add, what pieces we add. I think I'm cautiously optimistic for next year. So that's really it. I'm excited for next season. Can't wait.
Yeah, next season we're definitely, and I think I saw Sports Illustrated already picked the Patriots to win the division, which is really, 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 really early. But at least the professionals know we have a real offensive coordinator.
That's weird because I saw the odds. Well, it was Super Bowl odds, but the Patriots and Steelers were way down there.
Yeah, I thought that it was too early to tell because we don't know what they're doing in the draft yet. But I think that next year when we do our rosters, it's going to be maybe the same players, but different outcomes, different coaching, different everything, at least from the offensive ball side. So that it's something to look forward to at least. At least. And not that I didn't have not that Matt Patricia being the offensive coordinator let me down, but now we know through the year he definitely wasn't ready.
He let you down.
Yeah, he was not at the beginning. Now I can say he let me down. Yes, not at the beginning. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for this awesome second season that we just did. And I hear my kids jumping up and down. Wow. They just won't go to bed.
Nope.
All right. Ron, what I was saying is I'd like to thank everyone for coming and watching us and hearing us and listening in. I know whether you did it by accident or whether you did it because you're a friend or family, we'd like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for listening in. Ron, what do you got to say?
Thanks. Appreciate all the support. Look forward to next year again. I hope you guys stay with us and support us again as we get into next season.
And with that in mind, I say peace.
Peace.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Any questions or comments, feel free to hit us up on shutyourmouthpodcast@gmail.com. That's shutympodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit us on Twitter or on Instagram at SYM Podcast. Thanks again.